Today's episode is going to talk about planning for next year right now. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a clinic management software built to help you focus on what matters most, your patients. Building rapport with your patients is important during appointments, and that can be challenging when you're also trying to take timely and detailed documentation. That's why Jane built AI Scribe to help you document important information without the manual note-taking. This feature transforms your sessions, seriously, it's amazing, into chart entries, and all you have to do is review your notes, sign the chart, and you're done. And since security is a top priority at Jane, seriously, it is so important to them. AI Scribe was built securely in-house to be fully HIPAA and PIP EDA compliant. With a tool you can trust, Jane helps you spend more time on patient care. To learn more about how Jane can help change how you feel about documentation, head to meet.jane.app/documentation to book a demo or sign up. And if you're ready to go, don't forget to use my code LEX1MO for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. And if you're curious about AI Scribe, I highly recommend you go ahead and take a demo with Jane because I saw it in action and it is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. I'm going to be keeping this episode really short for you because I actually have not decided what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. But if you have kept up on my emails / I don't even know if I said it on social, but from the 19th, which is 2 days ago, through January, I'm looking at my calendar, 8th, 9th, I'm taking like an unofficial time off, if you will. So I don't have active client work scheduled into my schedule, which means I have essentially my whole day for 3 weeks to do with what I please. And to just decide how I want to spend it, whether it's, working in my business, meaning, I'm always doing things for my business, but, revamping things, making sure things are streamlined for the new year, sorting through changes and, I will say getting things ready for the new year. And then also on top of that, it's just like the freedom to be able to essentially spend an entire day on the couch should I want to, which does play right into the episode today. And again, I'm going to jump into that after personal business updates, but I'll continue with business because obviously I just gave you business. Aside from that, if you're listening to the podcast, you're probably familiar with the fact that I am booking well into January and February. Over the course of this, I don't even want to call it a sabbatical. That's not what it is. It's just like vacation. It's a staycation. Over the course of this staycation, one of my plans is to figure out how I want to move forward with discovery calls and new clients. The reason I say that is because, I operate my business very much so like a PT clinic. So I don't want to have an evaluation if I don't have room for follow-ups. And I'm getting to the point right now where I have one-off coaching call times available, but there are just, for me, I'm like, I have a lot of discovery calls booked for January and I have my current clients and it's to the point right now where I am booked, like I am full. And I feel like when I say that, I feel like a lawyer in a sense where I'm thinking about one of the lawyers that I work with. It's just like, she's not currently taking new clients. And it's just like, that's the case. So I'm just kind of working through how I want to handle that, because there are services that I do offer that I don't need to, it's not my retainer service. I've had all of this stuff going on forever, but right now where I'm feeling pressure is just having so many discovery calls, which I'm so grateful for. But when I know that I have a bunch of discovery calls scheduled, it does make me feel some type of way, because I'm like, these folks are waiting for this discovery call to begin with. And then I also want to be able to help them. And then I'm probably going to be booking out again to actually do the service, which again, this is the way it is. Like, and I'm very forward about how it is just me, and I don't plan on changing that. And like, somebody might be like, well, that's not going to age well when you decide to hire. That is going to be a decision that is, if I ever decide that, it's going to be so far in the future that I don't even, like, I can't even, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But anyway, especially because of where I live, like the California laws are insane. So I'm just like, I don't want it. So yeah, I'm just going to try to sit with how I want to solve that problem. And yes, just like a PT clinic, a wait list is a thing, and that may be where I go. And I have to, obviously, like, my heartstrings, it's tough for me because I obviously want to help everyone. And knowing that I can't is just, the way of the world and life, but it's also tough to swallow. I'll be honest. Like, it's tough. And like, also such a blessing and a champagne problem. And I'm not trying to sit here and complain about that, but I also am trying to be very forward and upfront about what I'm thinking about and what I need to consider in the next, 3 weeks. And you may be also having some sort of considerations around the same type of thing. So if anything, we're in the same river, different boats. So with that being said, there's going to be a bunch of changes in my business, or on the back end of my business, that likely won't be very public facing until you request a service brochure or you want to work with me, whatever it is. But one of my main goals, and I haven't officially decided on my word of the year, but I think my new word of the year is going to be nourish. I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be. I'm still sorting it out. But with that, one of my goals is to take the things that I have and ensure that I'm just doing them to the best of my ability and making them the best ever, and just continuing to nourish my business in a way that also feeds my personal life, because one of my goals for Nourish is to actually spend more time in my personal life and not on my business. I do look at Annie Miller is one of the people that I've never actually had that discussion with her back and forth, but the way that she manages her time, our businesses are very different in that I have a service that I have to actually deliver, like client deliverables. So I have a different delivery, or a different product delivery, if you will. But I do admire the way that she handles her time for work. And, I'm trying to figure out a way to do the same and really be able to say off and on. And one of those things, honestly, I may end up having like a work phone that's separate from my personal phone. But like, if you're familiar, obviously on Instagram, I can't separate that. So I don't know. There are things that I'm like trying to figure out and play around with and determine what might be the best to get that handled, if you will. But again, all these things are things that I'm thinking about and working through during this break. Other than that, business side, it's just like, stay tuned. Personal side, we returned from Mexico. We went to Playa del Carmen and we went to Secrets Moshe. It is an adults only resort and it was amazing. Would definitely go back. There's so much diversity at that hotel. It wasn't, an exorbitant amount of money. And it was so fun. So I would definitely say, if you're looking for an adults only all inclusive and I won't say, I don't know what, what expensive is to you. That's obviously like to each their own and very relative, but it was very reasonable. It was very reasonably priced. Every single room had a hot tub or a soaking tub on the balcony. Like it wasn't just our room, it was every single room. It was just, and there's a club at night. So, and there was always live entertainment from 7 to 9 and then again 9 to 11. Like it was just so good. It was such a good resort. So if you're looking for somewhere to go, definitely recommend that place. And I'll probably do an episode on it eventually, but at the end of the day, I will just say that I'll talk more about the fact that you need to leave a review or put a testimonial somewhere when the experience is good, because inside the Facebook group for this hotel, we were arriving and our friend Natalie and I was just like, she was saying to me, like, I'm kind of nervous to go because of all the negative things people are saying. And the long and the short, I'm just going to give it to you straight. People are so effing crazy. Like the things that they were complaining about and the things that they said were bad, like genuinely, we're not picky people by any means, but it could not have been better. Like hands down, could not have been a better experience. And we left being like, these people, they're like finding things to complain about. But anyway, everything was really great. Really recommend that hotel if you're looking for a spot. And honestly, in my dream, like my dream world, I would love to do like a big group trip there. Like it would be so fun because there's something for everyone. There's the beach, there's a pool, there's a club, there's just general live entertainment. It's so nice. And it would be really fun because again, like everything was on the resort, which is, in my opinion, I don't want to like take cabs around wherever we're going, whether it's Mexico or wherever. And it was nice to have everything right at the resort, and the food is so freaking good. So yeah, that's my dream, is like to have a big group trip with a bunch of people to go to that resort. That would be so freaking fun. And like in my head, if I were Emma Jack, I would just host a retreat there, but I'm not Emma. And I don't have anything to host a retreat on. That's, obviously she is the queen of that. And, but I would do it. That would be so cool. Okay. Anyway, I feel like that's all for personal stuff. I'm looking at Moose right now. I just gave her a bath and she's soaking wet. And, if you have a doodle, you know the pain of brushing said doodle after you give them a bath. I just brushed her out and I think she's a little bit mad at me because, it takes a lot of time and there's knots and yeah, but she like cuddles up into like a little ball and I think she's cold. So with that being said, let's jump into the episode. I'm going to keep this really short, and I feel like I have said this multiple times, but I will say, like Shantae says, once is never. So I'm going to say it again. I will tell you that I was sitting at my desk, two things. One, we had our vacation. So we went on vacation from Wednesday to Tuesday, and then I had to work. So I scheduled work for myself Wednesday to Friday, and now from Friday December 19th until January 8th, I have nothing on my schedule that is like I am beholden to my desk. So I get to just like come and go as I please. Obviously, like I think I need to take a step back and just say, like, I can typically do that any Monday, Wednesday, Friday because my stuff is so flexible, but live calls are pretty draining. So I have nothing live aside from a team meeting with Anna Hartman and Movement Rev. But aside from that, I have nothing live going on until January 8th, which is like such a blessing for me. And I'm so happy. Like it makes me feel so good to just take a break, to be able to just chill and do things that I typically don't always have the time for. So the message here, I decided to block off those 3 weeks. So I blocked off the last 2 weeks of December this time last year. And then I actually added the first week of January back in like October or September of this year, because because in my head, I was going back and forth, and I said this in a different episode. I said that I was going to, like, who decided I have to take a whole month off? Why don't I just connect December and January, give myself the last 2 weeks of December, the first week of January, and then I have 3 full weeks off. So I said to myself, I could just do that. So that's when I blocked off the first week of January. But point being, I feel like I remember working on Christmas Eve as a PT. I remember working from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I remember in between one of my patients, because I was in Alaska and my family was on the East Coast. I feel like it was my lunch break. I remember being on FaceTime with my family on Christmas Eve, and I'm like treating patients. And, I just don't think that's necessary. Like, to be blatantly honest, I don't think, and that was when I was working as a travel PT. So that was not my cash PT clinic. That was a travel PT job. I just don't feel like that's necessary in any way, shape, or form. Now, to each their own, of course, whatever, do your thing. But my point is, I just feel like if you are wanting to take time off during any sort of time period, like I will make an extensive period of time off in the middle of the year as well. One, because we're traveling and I'll just attach it to that. But two, because like you don't want to wait an entire year to take time off. Any job you get typically, whatever your vacation amount is per year. So giving yourself that, and then hopefully a little bit more because you're the business owner, is ideal, right? And like financially, how can you make it work? Logistically, how can you make it work? I get it. Like there are a lot of things around it. And, are you the sole provider of income for the family? Like I understand there are a lot of things to consider. But what I want you to just sit with is how can you make it work for you so that you can take time off when you may not feel like you need it right now, but when you get to that time, you will need it. And I think about last year, I was on Shantae's Maestro meeting or Maestro Mafia call, and Rachel Strickland had talked about how she does her no work December. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds so nice. That sounds so nice. I want to do that. I want to have a no work month. And, that's when I said, I can't really take a full month off, but I can take 2 weeks off. So I blocked off the last 2 weeks of the month last year at this time for this year. And then, like I had said before, I added that third week because why not? Like who decided that it all has to be in the same month? You can just carry it over, take the last week of December off and the first week of January, however you want or need to do it. But the whole thing is just to consider blocking time off right now for next year. If you're thinking like, oh man, I really would love to take time off blank. Or I know some people, it's just like whenever their kids get out of school, I know there are some parents who are like, I want to be home the first week that they're home or the last week of summer before they go back to school, whatever that looks like for you and however you want that to look like. But at the end of the day, you have to plan for it. And oftentimes people wait. I've talked to many people who wait until the month before and they're like, I can't possibly do it. And it's because they have patients scheduled. They have this thing here, that thing there. And like, there's always the ability to move and cancel things, and patients understand, clients understand. But if you can block it off now, you know that you won't ever have to do that. And it will just be one less lift when the time comes because you'll already have it planned and in your schedule. Again, lots of mindset work to do around that I am not a pro at. So if you need help with that, of course, there are different people. Shantae, Emma, Jack, meet with them, ask them how to go about blocking the time and like having a schedule and time blocking and assessing your schedule. And then how to actually put a plan in place for what to do and how to do it and when to do it and how to set yourself up to do it, blah, 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 blah. All that jazz. All right. So again, I am looking at my schedule. Today is the 21st. So this episode will be out tomorrow, the 22nd. I have, of course, the episode on the 29th and the 5th, January 5th. So hopefully I'm thinking I'm probably going to record 2 new episodes. It's just easier to record. And I would love to do a word of the year episode next week. So look out for that. And then we'll see what I end up thinking about for the beginning of the year. All right, friends, I hope you have a lovely holiday season. I will catch you next time.